Hey everyone, welcome back to the card combo show, me Choco Billy. So the cards we're going to be looking at today are Barts, Thief, Lightning, Squall, Gaius, and Una. Right, let's get to it. So, Bartz. Bartz has all the jobs. Talk about a tryhard. So, he works with a lot of different things. He's got a lot of good synergies, but a nice little Opus 1 combo from the very beginning is Warrior Light. You know, you just got Warrior Light and Bartz down. Bartz becomes a 10k first strike forward. That's just awkward to deal with and good in anyone's books. Pain and Riku. So we've got the fourth Gullwing here, Bartz. So if you've got both Pain and Riku down, that will mean that Bartz is untouchable. And frankly, that is just really awkward to deal with, and the fact that kind of Pain and Riku's shortcomings are their powers. If you have something like Maria down, that means both Pain and Bartz are 9ks then, which untargetable via summons and abilities. That will just be a hellish scenario for your opponent. Now you've also got Hope. Bartz fulfills the job of mother and father for him, so Hope's just been adopted by Bartz. Bit weird. And obviously you can get more bang for your buck by playing Bartholomew to get Hope down, so then you've got a big Hope with cannot be chosen by your opponent's abilities, and if you combine that with the Gullwings, then you've got a field of untargetable things, which will be hell. Sarah, so when Sarah attacks, reactivate all your Moogles, that includes Bartz, so you know, swing with Bartz first, then swing with Sarah to reactivate Bartz to have them stand up for your opponent's attack phase. Odin, so when you cast Odin, if you control a job class 0 cadet forward, break a forward regardless of its power, so you could be running some weird little wind, lightning type 0 deck and just have Bartz in there for the thrills. Unalesca, so the cost required to cast your summons is reduced by 1 for each job summoner forward you control. Now wind and water traditionally go quite well together anyway, so having Bartz there as a summoner or some other job that might be involved, the standard unit like with Warrior of Light. So there's a lot of different synergies there with Bartz and water. And then you got the Turks. So if you've got Bartz down with Reno, then Reno will gain haste or Rude will gain first strike, which together is actually pretty powerful, you know, and you can go one step further and have Elena in there as well, and if you've just got Elena and Bartz down, Elena will still be able to attack because Bartz is a job member Turks. Why are they called the Turks for anyway? Because like, to be a Turk is to be someone from Turkey, isn't it? So why are they called Turks? Weird. Anyway, right, Thief. So when a card is put from your opponent's deck into the break zone, Thief gains plus 2,000 power until the end of the turn. When Thief attacks, your opponent puts the top card of his or her deck into the break zone. So basically, Thief attacks, your opponent mills, and he gains plus 2,000 power. Now, it doesn't stipulate it's when Thief makes your opponent mill a card. It's actually any form of mill will buff Thief. So, you know, if Paul can make his way through, make your opponent mill their top 5 cards, Thief will have just gained 10k. And then when Thief attacks as well, he'll have gained 12k, so that's pretty nuts. Now there's a funny little combo here. Obviously this is kind of the way it's meant to be played, but I quite like it regardless. So you play the backup Thief, make your opponent mill, that gives the forward Thief... this has become a tongue twister, isn't it? The forward Thief will gain plus 2,000 power. You then play Mion to bounce the Thief back to your hand, to draw a card, and then you can replay Thief if you want, make your opponent mill again, and Thief will gain 4k. Now you can also do this with this Thief, so when it leaves the field, your opponent mills a card, so similar to the Viking, which when it leaves the field, you draw a card. So you can have him on the field. He is a forward, but he's only 1 CP, so it's quite easy to replay. So maybe you pay the 1 to play him onto the field, you play Mion to bounce him back to your hand, you draw a card, your opponent mills, Thief gains plus 2,000 power, you pay the 1 for Thief again, and then you go swing with Thief, and then you've got this little guy stood up ready for when your opponent attacks. And then you can also do a similar thing with Famfrit as well, so on your opponent's turn you could Famfrit, Thief just disappears, makes your opponent mill a card, they lose a forward, and if Thief stood up he also gains plus 2,000 as well. Sellers, so Sellers can attack, bounce Thief back to your hand, your opponent will mill, and then your opponent will also have a forward bounce back to the hand as well, and the other forward Thief will have gained plus 2,000 power. And then similar sort of thing, but I've gone for deleter in this case. When Selkie's put into the break zone, your opponent mills the top 2 cards. If they are the same type of card, you also get to draw a card as well, which is quite nice. But the reason I went for this little combo is because generally your opponent will have a reasonable amount of 4 CP forwards, so playing deleter on the field to put Selkie into the break zone means your opponent will mill 2, but hopefully they've got 4 CP forward, or no, sorry, your opponent actually has to have a 4 CP forward to be able to put Selkie into the break zone. So yeah, you'll have broken one of their forwards, you'll have made them mill 2, and Thief will have gained plus 4,000 power. And then there's this thief. They're all thieves, right? So thick as thieves. So you could have the forward thief actually just, ready to block on your opponent's turn, and when they attack, you can use this thief to make your opponent mill 2 cards, and then forward thief will have gained plus 2,000 power and ready to block for 11k. Pretty cool. Okay, Lightning. So she's a strange card, but she's got some decent enough synergies. So when Lightning enters the field, you may search for up to 2 card named Odin and add them to your hand, and then 1 Lightning Dull, remove 2 card named Odin in the break zone from the game, choose one forward, break it. So Halicarnassus. Dull, discard 2 summons, i.e. Odin, choose one forward, break it. So you can effectively, if you've had Halicarnassus and Lightning on the field for more than 1 turn, you can discard 2 Odins and dull Halicarnassus to break a forward, and then those 2 Odins you discarded, you can then use Lightning's ability to break another forward. So that's, I mean, yeah, your forwards have become dull, but if you cleared your opponent's field from doing this, that's pretty decent going. Effectively, you've dulled both your forwards and paid 4 to break 2 forwards, and there's no limitation on them either, so it's just choose one forward, break it. Star Sybil and a Geomancer. So, for example, you could use Star Sybil to play Lightning onto the field. That will gain you 2 Odins to your hand, and you've just broken a backup. And then if you can play a Geomancer, maybe using one of those Lightnings, one of those Odins, sorry, to play a Geomancer to then cast the other Odin from your hand. Most likely the 7-drop one, which can then break any forward. Now, continuing with the Earth theme, you could have Momody as well, so you could give Lightning Brave, attack, and then use her dull ability to then break a forward. It's kind of like a more souped up snow. Doga as well, so the fact that you will have so many Odins in the deck means that, I think all bar 1 Odin in the game are cost 4 or more, so it means that you will be able to just keep breaking your opponent's forwards, and then keep breaking their backups as well with Doga. And Seymour, so again, you don't really want your Odins to be in the damage zone, but if you have the ability to put at least something on top of your deck to then make it hit the EX with Seymour, that's decent enough. And if, the end result is your opponent loses a forward, right? Because if you play Seymour to put 7-drop Odin on top of your deck, the chances are they'll either attack you and deal your point of damage, which obviously isn't ideal, but you will almost definitely break a forward unless they have some sort of answer to it, or you draw the Odin to hand and then you can put it in the break zone if you want, or cast it, whatever, but either way, it's a worthy cause. Rydia, again, with so many Odins in the deck, and an Odin deck isn't exactly ideal. There aren't too many cards that synergize specifically with Odin, except for Lightning, but, Odin is a summon, so you can be used alongside things like Geomancer and Rydia. So obviously, if you play Rydia and then get your 7-cost Odin, you can cast it immediately, and then it goes into break zone, which then might allow you to use Lightning's dull ability to then break something else. And Yuna, so yeah, using any of these formulas, just casting Odin, probably the 7-cost one, and then you can cast any Odin after that as well, so you could cast 7 costs and then the 4 costs to have broken 2 things, and they'll be put into the break zone as well. Obviously, the summon is a card from hand, as well as having to pay for Yuna's S, but it means that you're also funding Lightning's ability to be able to break something as well. Okay, so Squall. Not a hugely great card, but I've always enjoyed using him anyway. So first strike, for each dull character your opponent controls, Squall gains plus 1000 power, and when Squall attacks, dull all the backups your opponent controls. So he's actually a fairly strong card. It's just the fact that there's too many easy answers for him. Like at base he's 6k power and he's a 5-cost card, so things like Diablo just completely screw with him. But Snow, so when he attacks, obviously you'll dull all your opponent's backups, but with Snow it means you're also dulling one of their forwards as well, further increasing Squall's power. Yeah, White Tiger, let's see, Kunmi, and also Green Mage. This is more just for the case that if you've got Squall on the field and your opponent can see that they're going to attack, they're going to leave some of your backups or their backups open to be able to answer it, so that they're not just wasted CP, right? So you want to have the answer to their answer. If you're attacking and dulling all their backups, then they're going to want to use those backups. So then they'll try and do something. But if you've got something like Green Mage or White Tiger to be able to say, no, I'm cancelling your summon, or no, I'm cancelling your action ability, that makes their position even more difficult to handle. Bunker Beast, so even if your opponent doesn't have that many dull characters for whatever reason, he is still first strike, so if your opponent does block him and you use Bunker Beast, they lose 2000 power and he is first strike, so, you know, at the very least they should have 1 or 2 dull backups. The chances, well, if they have any backups, they theoretically should be dull unless they've managed to reactivate them before the block. Flandit, so you attack with Squall, dull all their backups, and then once Squall's attack ability has resolved, you can then use Flandit's ability, and then they have the choice of leave Flandit to resolve and Squall's now unblockable, or your opponent has to pay out of hand. Momody, so again, first strike character, if he's dulling everything on attack, obviously your opponent's next activation phase, they are going to, well, everything's going to be reactivated, but generally to dull, unless they've got a Brave forward, they are going to have to attack. So maybe I should have put Mermody with Duke Larg as well, just to give Squall a bit of a better base defense. But unless your opponent has a Brave forward, or the ability to give them Brave, the chances are their forward's going to become dull, which will also boost Squall as well. And generally people don't like to go into their attack phase without having used some of their CP first. Maybe they've got like a card they want to play to give an added effect, like something like Chelinka. So being able to force your opponent to have to attack first before they can use their backups could also be a benefit in itself. And Bartandalus. So yeah, let's just freeze out your opponent's backups completely. So Bartandalus at the end of your opponent's turn, if they have any active forwards, dull and freeze them. So that would mean that they don't want to leave anything. Obviously, they wouldn't want to leave anything up because of Squall anyway, but it means that even if they do, they get frozen out, and that will further buff Squall for longer because they're frozen. It means that they'll be dull on their next activation phase, and Squall will still be huge. Alright, Gaius. So, I don't care so much about Gaius as such, but when Gaius or category 14 forward enters your field, choose one forward opponent controls, deal it 3000 power, 3000 damage. I'll get it right in a minute. Dragoon. So you play Dragoon onto the field, you can deal 3k to something, but you can also give one of your forwards first strike, which then means they have effectively gained 3000 power in first strike, provided your opponent will block with that forward. Yeah, it's just a nice way to kind of force your opponent to either not block or sacrifice their forward. Urianger and Bomb. So you play Urianger onto the field, you deal 3k to something, you bring Bomb onto the field, and then you can sacrifice your Bomb to make it 8k. Not bad for paying 2. Raban enters the field, you deal 9k to something and 3k to something. Nice little 12k packet of damage. Obviously Raban's going to die, but there's a possibility you can keep him alive through various means. Phoenix. So you Phoenix in a 14 character, I mean there's plenty, let's just go with Ishtola off the top of my head. Yep, you Phoenix in a forward, you've dealt 8k, then the forward enters, it's a further 3k, so 11k, and then whatever effect the forward has on entry as well. And then Glauca. So Glauca being able to reduce the cost of your lightning characters would be quite useful, especially because a card named Nira and card named Livia are both lightning cards, so that means he can search them, and then Glauca, or Gaius, sorry, can search them, and Glauca can reduce their cost to be played into the field. But it's also a case of whenever the forwards do enter, they'll gain 1000 power as well as dealing 3k damage to one of your opponent's forwards. And then Zande, so it doesn't work as well as I would like it to at the moment, but let's pretend you're on 5 damage and you play Zande with Gaius in the field. So there aren't any 1-cost fire 14 forwards, so I just went with the VV, so chances are you won't have enough 9 characters if you're in a 14 themed deck, but even still, VV entering the field and dealing 2k to something is reasonable enough. But then you can bring in Rittatine and Lice. So Rittatine and Lice both entering will be packets of 3k themselves. With VV that makes it a total of 8k damage, which you can deal to one thing, or you can split it up obviously if you want to take out a few other things at once. But what's also decent as well is that Rittatine is brave and Lice will be buffing everything by 1. If you're on 5 damage, like I said you should be because of Zande, then that means Lifesteal actually buffing everything by 2,000 power. So that's a pretty strong swing. If you've paid 8 and you had 1 forward before and you just went to 5 forwards, all of which are gaining a plus 2k buff, and you dealt 8k to something, yeesh. Alright, Geomancer, dull. Look at the top card of your deck. You may place the card at the bottom of your deck. So there's quite a few different cards that do similar sort of things as Geomancer, but so I'm going to go with Bannon. So when Bannon is chosen by your opponent's summons or abilities, reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a backup, cancel all effects choosing Bannon. So obviously you can force that effect to happen via Geomancer. You can look at the top card. Oh no, that's not a backup. Maybe I'll put that to the bottom and then look at the next card for Bannon's effects and hopefully get that. But it's more the dull, reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a forward, add it to your hand. So Geomancer being able to look at the top card, say no, that's not a forward, put that down, and then reveal the top card with Bannon, and oh look, get a forward, add it to your hand. It can increase your hand size quite substantially by using this little trick. Obviously you are sacrificing a backup to do it, but if you're doing it on your opponent's turn, at the end of their turn, then, you know, it's a good way to effectively draw 3 a turn. Now you can kind of increase this by using Astrologian. So reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a backup, add it to your hand. If it is not a backup, put it into the break zone. So obviously that's not something you really want to be doing, but if you use Geomancer to look at the card, chances are it'll be one of 3 things. I say 3 things because monsters aren't hugely, they don't take up a large portion of people's decks, so there is a chance it'll be there, but, you know, slim. So the high chances it'll be a forward because people tend to run more forwards in decks, and then backups. So either way, you'll have hopefully one of these 2 ready to go. So use Geomancer, see what it is, and then you can either get the card via Bannon or get the card via Astrologian. If it is a summon, however, just use Una. So you use Geomancer to look at the top. Oh look, I've got a summon. Cast it with Una. Oh look, I've got a forward. Get it with Bannon. Oh look, I've got a backup. Get it with Astrologian. No matter what it is, provided it's not a monster, just add it to your hand or cast it. There's the other Astrologian as well, so you can look at the top card just to ensure that the following card will be a water card. Now obviously you would really only be running Astrologian in a mono water deck, but you know, Una's a light card. It'll be the one time you go to use Astrologian's ability and the top card is Una and you're like, oh, really? So that would suck. So, you know, it's just upping your odds. Hildebrand, so his S is a bit of a gamble, but you can kind of hedge your bets using Geomancer. Look at the top card, see if it is a forward. I once used Hildebrand blind to just, at the end of my opponent's turn, let's see if I can bring a forward in, and it was Minerva, which was hilarious. So, yeah, it's worth doing every now and then. Alright, thank you ever so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe and like. I know it sounds cheesy, but, you know, the more subscriptions and more feedback I get for these videos, the more it kind of gets me pumped up to do them as well. So, yeah, let me know if there's any cards you want me to cover in the future, and I'll see you guys in the next video.